Sean Diddy Combs built one of the most recognizable empires in modern music. From his early days as an intern at Uptown Records to the creation of Bad Boy Records, he shaped the sound and image of hip-hop in the 1990s and 2000s. His brand extended beyond music into fashion, television, spirits, and high-profile cultural events. His white parties became symbols of exclusivity and status, drawing major figures from entertainment, sports, and business. For years, proximity to Diddy signaled influence. That image now sits under sustained scrutiny. Allegations from former associates, civil lawsuits, and federal investigations have shifted public focus from his business success to claims about conduct behind closed doors. What once appeared to be glamorous access to elite circles is now being examined through the lens of coercion, control, and abuse. Actor Terrence Howard recently added his voice to that conversation. Known for performances in films such as Hustle and Flow, Howard described encounters with Diddy that he said felt professionally framed but personally unsettling. He stated that Diddy repeatedly approached him under the pretext of collaboration, including discussions about acting and music. Howard said the environment did not feel strictly professional and that he ultimately chose to distance himself. He has framed that decision as a matter of personal integrity, suggesting he believed participation would have required compromising boundaries he was unwilling to cross. Howard also made broader claims about the culture surrounding Diddy's circle, implying that younger artists may have faced pressures that contributed to later struggles. Those assertions remain allegations, but they have intensified public debate about power dynamics in the industry. His comments did not emerge in isolation. They landed in a media climate already saturated with questions about Diddy's conduct. Rapper 50 Cent has for years publicly criticized Diddy, often in blunt and mocking terms. He has described instances in which he felt uncomfortable with Diddy's behavior, including invitations he interpreted as inappropriate. While those remarks were previously viewed by many as part of long-standing rivalry, recent developments have led some observers to revisit them as early warnings. 50 Cent has announced plans for a documentary examining Diddy's history, positioning himself as someone who stayed at the margins of a culture he distrusted. The discussion, however, has moved beyond personal commentary. Civil litigation has introduced formal allegations into the record. Among them is a lawsuit filed by Joseph Manzaro, who claimed he was drugged and taken to a 2015 event described as a freak-off. Early versions of that complaint named high-profile figures, including Jay-Z and Beyoncé, as witnesses. Subsequent legal updates indicated amendments and disputes over those claims, and legal representatives for those named have pushed back strongly. The procedural developments underscore the seriousness of naming individuals in court filings and the consequences of inaccuracies. Additional public figures have been drawn into speculation through association. Will Smith addressed online rumors during a comedy performance, distancing himself from allegations tied to Diddy. The references reflect how quickly high-profile names become entangled in narratives once legal actions begin. Federal authorities have also taken action. Law enforcement executed searches at properties linked to Diddy, and a previously reported 2016 surveillance video showing him physically assaulting singer Cassie Ventura resurfaced publicly. That footage intensified scrutiny and became part of the broader legal context. Prosecutors have indicated charges related to sex trafficking and racketeering. Diddy's legal team has denied criminal wrongdoing and sought additional time to review extensive discovery materials, including large volumes of emails. A jury selection timeline has been set, and witnesses, including Cassie Ventura, are expected to testify. The situation now stands at the intersection of celebrity culture and federal prosecution. What began as industry whispers has transitioned into formal legal proceedings. Allegations once confined to interviews and online commentary are now subject to judicial process. The reputations of multiple public figures are being examined alongside the evidence. At its core, the matter reflects a larger tension within entertainment industries, the concentration of power around influential gatekeepers, and the vulnerability of those seeking access. For decades, Diddy's network represented opportunity. Today, that same network is being scrutinized in courtrooms and investigative reports. The legal process will ultimately determine the validity of the accusations, but the public narrative has already shifted from celebration of influence to examination of accountability. As scrutiny intensified, the focus shifted from public commentary to detailed allegations laid out in formal complaints and interviews. What had long circulated as rumor began to take shape through sworn statements and recorded testimony, placing specific claims into the legal record. Terrence Howard's account gained renewed attention in this context. In a lengthy interview, he described repeated efforts by Diddy to engage him under professional pretenses, including discussions about coaching and collaboration. Howard stated that the tone of these meetings felt inconsistent with standard business practice and that he eventually chose to withdraw. He characterized the experience as one in which personal boundaries were tested, and he suggested that declining participation carried professional consequences. While these claims remain unproven in court, they contributed to a broader narrative about power imbalances within elite entertainment circles. At the same time, 50 Cent continued to revisit his long-running criticism of Diddy. He referenced prior encounters, including an offer to go shopping together, which he said made him uncomfortable. In recent interviews, he framed his past distance from Diddy's social events as intentional. He has since confirmed plans for a documentary examining allegations and industry culture surrounding Diddy's inner circle. Though critics note their history of rivalry, 50 Cent maintains that his position is rooted in long-standing suspicion rather than personal animosity. Civil litigation has introduced additional layers of complexity. Joseph Manzaro filed a lawsuit alleging he was drugged and transported to a 2015 event described in court documents as a freak-off. The complaint initially named several high-profile figures as witnesses, including Jay-Z and Beyoncé. Legal representatives for those individuals have strongly denied involvement, and subsequent amendments to the filing adjusted certain claims. The revisions underscore how quickly allegations can expand in scope before being narrowed through legal review. The legal climate changed further following the resurfacing of a 2016 surveillance video depicting Diddy physically assaulting singer Cassie Ventura. The footage, widely circulated across major news outlets, prompted renewed public attention and intensified pressure on ongoing investigations. Ventura has since been identified as a cooperating witness in federal proceedings. Her prior civil settlement with Diddy did not prevent her from becoming part of the broader prosecutorial effort. Federal authorities have executed searches at properties connected to Diddy, signaling that the inquiry extends beyond isolated civil disputes. Prosecutors have indicated charges that include sex trafficking and racketeering, positioning the case within the framework typically used for organized criminal enterprises. Diddy's legal team has denied the allegations and argued that the claims represent coordinated attempts to damage his reputation. They have requested additional time to review extensive discovery materials, citing the volume of electronic communications involved. Other public figures have addressed indirect associations. Will Smith publicly dismissed rumors linking him to alleged events, using a comedy performance to clarify his position. Such responses reflect the wider reputational impact that accompanies high-profile investigations, even for those not formally charged. The broader implications of these developments extend well beyond the personal reputations of the individuals involved. What began as a collection of interviews, online commentary, and civil complaints has evolved into a legal confrontation that places questions of power, accountability, and industry culture under formal examination. The proceedings now underway will determine whether the allegations represent isolated misconduct or evidence of a more systemic problem embedded within elite entertainment networks. For decades, Sean Diddy Combs cultivated an image of entrepreneurial ambition and cultural influence. His brand was built on exclusivity, loyalty, and access. The current legal challenges test whether that structure functioned purely as a business empire or whether elements of it enabled coercive behavior. Prosecutors framing the case around sex trafficking and racketeering statutes indicate that they are examining patterns rather than singular incidents. If the court accepts that framework, it would signal that the allegations are being treated as part of an organized system rather than disconnected accusations. At the same time, the involvement of high-profile names, whether as witnesses, commentators, or individuals mentioned in amended filings, illustrates how reputational risk spreads rapidly in cases of this scale. Legal representatives for Jay-Z and Beyoncé have denied any wrongdoing, and amendments to complaints reflect the procedural process of refining claims under scrutiny. These corrections highlight an important distinction between allegation and proof, especially when public figures are drawn into narratives through association rather than direct evidence. The resurfacing of the 2016 surveillance video involving Cassie Ventura has altered the public dimension of the case. Unlike testimony alone, recorded footage carries a different evidentiary weight in shaping perception. While the criminal charges extend beyond that incident, the video intensified attention on past settlements and prior silence. Ventura's reported cooperation with prosecutors underscores how earlier private resolutions do not necessarily prevent later legal accountability. The judicial process now governs the direction of the story. Jury selection dates, evidentiary motions, and discovery disputes will shape the timeline. Defense attorneys have emphasized the presumption of innocence and have described the lawsuits as opportunistic. Prosecutors, in contrast, argue that the volume and similarity of complaints demonstrate a consistent pattern. These positions will be tested in court, where evidentiary standards are higher than in public discourse. Beyond the courtroom, the case has reignited debate about the culture of access and patronage in the entertainment industry. Allegations of career leverage, professional retaliation, and silence agreements raise questions about how aspiring artists navigate systems controlled by a small number of powerful figures. Even if certain claims are dismissed or reduced, the visibility of the proceedings has already prompted renewed scrutiny of how influence is exercised behind closed doors. There is also a generational dimension to the reaction. Artists and executives who once viewed Diddy as a defining architect of modern hip-hop now confront allegations that challenge that legacy. Documentary projects, interviews, and media retrospectives indicate that cultural reassessment is underway, regardless of legal outcomes. Whether those reassessments endure will depend on the findings of the court. For now, the case remains unresolved. Charges have been filed, motions are pending, and further testimony is expected. The intersection of celebrity, commerce, and criminal law ensures that the proceedings will be closely followed. Ultimately, the significance of this moment lies not only in the fate of one mogul, but in what the legal system determines about accountability within highly concentrated power structures.